Wow, there's a lot of talk about sex these days. I mean, why shouldn't there be? Because we've grown up with it. It's everywhere now. You can't drive down the road without seeing soft porn on some kind of billboard. Soft porn would mean a chick laid out on the beach in her little skimpy bikini. Those are images. Children take them in. They're driving in the car with mom and dad, and they're like, oh, look at the girl in the bikini. Okay, still matters. So let's address sexual deviancy. Let's address that where it comes from in leadership, in our men. We expect most of our men to lead us with integrity. We don't really want to know what's going on behind closed doors, which is the reason why 30 years later, people can suddenly be accused of molesting children and assaulting women and teaching them vulgarity through their actions and behavior. Exploitation. You're exploiting people everywhere these days. This is nothing new. But people are aghast. And my question is, do you want your father, your brother, your neighbor, your coworker, do you want all of their mistakes to be exposed? Like we're trying to expose and defame all the people that are already in leadership? Chances are those people that are working with such kind of power and influence and patting their pockets with the citizens' money, they already sold their soul to the devil. So if they're going to be willing to partake in all kinds of antics that hurt other people because they can yield their power, they don't have a problem with that. But now on this level, where all of us interact with each other, there's never been a more heightened time of anger and hostility. Everybody's offended and pointing the fingers. But yet those that actually live a life of sexual deviancy are the very ones that are pointing the fingers at suddenly these people, these celebrities that have been accused of doing the very thing that they do behind closed doors. And that's my question. Where's the litmus test? I mean, who says that the guy that has a wife and kids but travels to Cambodia for business and just dabbles in a little prostitution because it's legal over there, who says that he's still upstanding? Nobody may even be aware of his laundry. Maybe his wife knows. Have we ever thought about the kind of house she's living in? And let's really look at John F. Kennedy. Oh my goodness. He snuck Marilyn Monroe into the White House, but his wife, wow, she had to put on a pretty face and look like the upstanding, good old girl that stood by her man. That's garbage, people. Same things repeating themselves. Now it's just in our face more and more. But why is any of it okay? Looking at porn is not okay. Ask any of the women that are married to men that are addicted to it, that actually become sexual deviants. And let's trace it all the way back. Where do you think this first began? You have to now look at every person who has abused a child or a woman, male or female, and you have to trace that back to what their parents did to them, or what kind of caretaker or role model were they involved with. Who did this to them that taught them how to do it to other people? Because you're not born that way, folks. Okay? You are taught how to touch somebody inappropriately. Promiscuous people have always had something done to them. There's always been a boundary that's been crossed. And yet suddenly we have an outbreak of online dating and people are getting upset because Tinder is nothing more than a sexual hookup. Sex abounds. I just don't understand why people are so offended. If you're partaking in it, if you like the rush, if you like sleeping around, if you need sex, if you are doing this thing where you want to be able to live your life in freedom, but you have to point the finger at somebody else who you believe is living in a wrong fashion. Obviously, committing crimes is wrong. Hurting people is wrong. But how many people do it on a normal basis? You judge. How many of us go to work for a tyrant? Boy, been there. The person that has just too much authority and wields it like they can put you out in a second, and they do. They treat you with disrespect. They talk about you as soon as you walk away. Sometimes you can even hear it. Is that okay? And what about the person that actually goes out of their way to right the wrong? You do live upright. You're going to have to stand on that. We're in a day and age where it comes down to, who are you? Are you a man or a woman of integrity? What boundaries won't you cross? Where are your convictions? Is lying okay? Really? Really? How many people think they're a good person, but they still sleep around? I know people that have made vows to get married, but they're allowed to go bonkers on that before that wedding night. The bachelorette party, forget about it. That's no holds barred. We're going to go out, kind of like the movie The Hangover. Still sexual deviancy. Still, somebody thinks that they can be fueled by their passions or their lusts at the moment and get away with it. That is what is going on in every scenario where you have somebody cheating on somebody else. Don't you get it? You guys, to say that one person is better than another because they're in a monogamous relationship, okay, maybe I'll give it to them. But it still doesn't clean up the decay and the judgment in your heart or in your mind that still is felt and sensed and known by the people around you. It all matters. So this sudden upheaval of offense where everybody's like, I can't believe this guy did that. Why? He's an actor. Seriously, actors act. They can charm like nobody's business. It is easy. If they've got that much money and they've got that much influence, they can even control other actors and actresses. Come on now. And what, suddenly it's coming out? The only reason why it's coming out is because of social media. It's all agenda. I don't understand why we actually are putting our faith and hope in people when we already know that the things that we do are wrong. When we put our head on a pillow at night and we close our eyes, we are well aware of the things that we do that are not upstanding. What happens is you can deny and shove it, which is how the course and the cycle of abuse always plays out. It's always like, well, I'm not as bad as the next guy. Well, I at least don't do that. Well, you know what? I may have slept around a little bit, but I'm better now. Or, you know what? I only had a bottle of wine instead of 2 bottles of wine. It all matters. And it matters if you are a person that actually thinks you're better because you put on a facade that you live an upright life. Christianity does it all the time. That's where spiritual abuse comes from. Oh my gosh. You've got mega churches running with pastors that are molesting kids. You've got the Catholic community that are hiding out priests. You've got Orthodox people that keep that thing on the down low so bad that you've got generation after generation of incest going on. And we're concerned that suddenly sexual deviancy is coming to the surface? It's an outrage. Yes, it is. It's an outrage that many people stick their head in the sand. That you're not really aware that sex trafficking is on every corner of the red light district. That the Russian mafia can come here and post up, and that our FBI and CIA can still be involved with any kind of heroin smuggling. Really? I've got people coming in that are in the health industry. Every industry has its hand first sight on a sexual deviancy. It's always using someone weaker, using someone who has been deprived or poverty struck, using them and promising them something in exchange for goods. You give me your body, I'll give you some money. How many people do we know that's an addict that has had that exchange? I've listened to it far too long. I have helped many teens, and let me tell you, some of them that have been molested by their fathers, whose daddies teach their brothers how to molest them some more, and they come in their bedroom like a conveyor belt. Really? You want to talk serious? Talk to your neighbor. Talk to your neighbor's kids. Go into a school, not just throw money at it. Go in there and get involved. Talk to some children, look at them in the eye and say, what's going on? Are you okay? Are you really experiencing ADHD, or are you really suffering with PTSD because somebody crossed a boundary and touched you? And are we going to stone your daddy? No, because that's kept quiet. Because that would be exposing something that nobody can deal with. Wow, isn't it interesting how suddenly that exposure is inundating social media because of lifelong habitual cycles of abuse that have always gone undetected, always been swept under the rug because of secrecy, because of leadership, because of men and women being hurt over and over again and continuing the cycle. We cannot point fingers, my friends. Cannot point fingers. If you want to point it at somebody else, just make sure your side of the street is swept clean. And let me tell you, that only comes through humility and putting things out in the open and keeping them from the dark and secrecy. It's time to wise up, people. We need a lot of help in this country, and it can start with you and I.